So it was windy, and the usual seats with beige camouflage covers were taken. On the seat in the front of the cafe, a group of women had sat down. They seemed to be having a good time, celebrating some reunion, getting drinks and laughs in the afternoon sun. Anna and I were hesitant and wondered if we should find another place, when the woman in the denim shirt turned around with a big smile on her face, asking us to come join them. They were sharing some stories anyways, and they were just here to have a good time. Why not join the good time? Annette with the denim shirt. The one who invited us to come sit with them was always the mother of the group. She was always working summer jobs when she was young, and she recalled with nostalgia those stressful but saturated summer nights. There was one particular incident. It was such a weird story, and she loved to tell it whenever she got the chance. It was one of the quieter days, so she was having an ice cream outside, when a guy approached her, covered in a smelly substance. He was in fact not wearing any clothes. He had wanted to let her know about a henhouse spectacle happening at some local place. He was rambling though, and then just left. A few days later, the shop phone rang. It was a guy she knew, and he'd come down there with a book he wrote, asking if they would sell it. They, as in the owners of the shop, of course, but Annette felt a spark of pride, a sudden sense of authority. She asked him to tell her a bit about the book. His high-pitched voice was hesitant as he spoke. Well, it's a bit about... He paused. Actually, I spoke to one of your colleagues the other day. I thought you were gonna be away for the week. Something about a place called the Hen. Now, I don't know too much about it, but can you just let your boss know that I called? He hung up before she could ask any questions, and she never found out what the whole hen saga was about, but she loved to tell the story whenever she got the chance. It was such fun and wild. Vivian was the one sitting in a sunbed next to Annette. You could always find her with a glass of Prosecco at hand, giggling. Bubbles made her funny and social these days. When Vivian was in her 20s, things did look different. She'd still feel that energy to do what she did and loved doing. She'd ride her sister's scooter to work, wearing those summer dresses and Nike slippers, and every year she'd hang out at the glamping spot during holidays to get some extra money. A few chores there, making expensive coffee and scooping ice cream. She always charmed everyone. She was a very responsible person, and her boss often showed her gratitude by giving her a little extra bonus. which was super helpful considering her not so stable economic situation, her trying to support herself off of her creative endeavors. One summer though, she did actually sell some of her stuff at the glamping spot. Some little wooden figurines, an asparagus, a digital watch, a puppy dog, and a tiny bird. But all in all, times were different then, the 20s. In many ways easier and in many ways not. She sometimes considered if she'd just go back, rewind, if she got the choice. But this was a speculative question that just couldn't be answered. Anita, who was also in a sunbed, did not often let loose, but today she would make an exception to catch up with old friends. Anita had let them stay in her lovely house overnight after all. It was the day before Anita had to go home from her residency, when she noticed something moving beneath a bench in the courtyard. It was a pigeon. Something seemed off about the animal. It was shaking. The other residents let her know over a text that they'd called animal services on the pigeon and was told to leave it alone. Anita was a little self-conscious, and she sometimes had a hard time getting out of her shell. She'd spent the inheritance of her grandma on that extra open university class, and other things she found to be proper and decent enough for that sort of money. So it wouldn't be off the rails to call her a conscientious type, who wouldn't just leave a confused bird to itself. But she really didn't like birds, and this one was not looking very nice. She tried moving closer still, but then the pigeon took off in an awkward attempt at escape or attack, half flying, half jumping, and it slipped into the old workshop where it stayed until midnight. She could so vividly recall the sight of that greasy, lonely bird. While she was stressing about her departure and her sense of responsibility, now not only to those who granted her the money to work, but also to the greasy bird. Charlotte and Anita had kept in contact through the years. However, Charlotte sometimes found Anita to be needing a little push, and Charlotte considered herself to be a professional. She did some work in service as a receptionist and an occasional tour guide. She was originally in the transportation business, but felt like trying out something new and got started with the service jobs. And she found that she was a really great service mind. She had a sense for details and human encounter, striking a good balance between forthcomingness and confrontation, as well as between a warm-heartedly personal and a respectfully distanced approach. she could give people the physical space they needed, supplying the right amount of intimacy without getting too close. Across from Annette was Susan, and the two of them considered each other the best of friends, and out of all of them, Susan, Annette, and Gitte had always had their own little group. You could tell it by their shared love for Aperol Spritz and heel-figure wedge heels. Susan had hardly ever had a day off. She was always running errands, working late hours. She was a goal-oriented woman, and she knew how to get places. When one day her partner proposed, it wasn't an easy decision for her to choose between life as a wife and life with a single person ethos. An energetic tempo, dynamic relationships, a focused, flourishing career. She didn't want to throw away what she had built for herself, and didn't want to be a part of an underground milieu with potential anymore. She wanted that potential actualized. In the end, she chose to say yes. She wanted to marry, yet without settling down in the traditional sense. She was sure that it could be done, having it both ways. Why not? She kept her activity level high, often meeting with the girls, after having entered into that new status as wife. In many ways, she was doing great, and her career was skyrocketing as she was just living life with a husband and no children. She often found herself new hobbies and loved baking for her friends and family. And they were supportive of her choice to not have children, enjoying her hospitality and infectious lust for life. Across from the two in the sunbeds was Gitte. Gitte was not the sunglass type, and the cap with the Pokemon resembling logo just worked better anyways. It was more practical. She'd sometimes find herself to be a little left out by Susan and Annette, but she never told them this. Gitte harbored a lot of bitterness. People would sometimes call her sarcastic. Her friends always joked that she was a true Capricorn. She joked about it too. Life in entertainment wasn't always easy. But she was proud of some of her projects, and she had led a creative life. There was this one period where she would sweat a lot, but apart from that, her physical condition was above all expectations, considering she didn't do much sports. She took this weekly gym course by a physiotherapist who gave her some specific exercises for her lower back, but that was just about it. Gitte used to have this family acquaintance that kept giving her SpongeBob-themed items. A dress, a full set of linen with SpongeBob as musician. She just kept and kept giving her these franchise items, even though Gitte got older with time. And at some point, of course, she had stopped being so passionate about SpongeBob and didn't know what to make of all the gifts. At this point, Anna and I were both distracted and dizzy from the wind and the sun and the laughs and the drinks. So we walked towards our bikes and left a little group of women to catch up as we biked home.